What up, Clock Dodgers? What up to my CDF Clock Dodger fam? Before we get started, I just want to say our thoughts and condolences are going out to Houston. If you can, please donate. Please provide whatever you can, your time, energy, love, thoughts, prayers, money, anything you can, because Houston and those other places affected by the hurricane are going through it. If you're in Florida or the Caribbean islands, anywhere like that, you got a hurricane coming at you right now. I'm in West Palm Beach, so it may be coming at us too. We'll see how things progress, but if you're out in those locations, thoughts go out to you as well. Now, this podcast is brought to you by No Halftime, the daily fantasy sports app that pins player versus player challenges such as things like Odell Beckham versus Devonta Freeman, Antonio Brown versus Tom Brady. If you want to get crazy, you can literally do all kinds of crazy setups. Now, if you use the promo code CLOCK, CLOCK, when you sign up, you will get a bonus. You can give that bonus to your friends, family, so tell them to use the promo code too, CLOCK. Not just for subscribers of the podcast. Literally anyone can use that. So share it with them when you tell them to download the app. It's a great app. It's really fun. They have a lot of new features and lots of new things. So please check it out if you haven't already. If you do already use it, congratulations. You have a great app that you're using. And they're going to be giving away tickets to NFL games all season long, once a week. So only for those who are active though. So if you're participating, you're automatically entered in the drawing. Again, they sponsor Clock Dodgers, and they've been around forever with us. So we really appreciate it. We love them. Again, guys, this conversation is with Fantasy Matrix, aka Professional Connor. Now, let's go. Enjoy the conversation. I'll catch you guys on the other end.
Cannot play with him. Cannot win with him. Cannot coach with him. Can't do it.
You play to win the game.
I mean, listen, we talking about practice. Not a game. Not a game. Not a game. We talking about practice.
Down goes Frazier. Down goes Frazier. Touchdown.
You are now locked in to the Clock Dodgers podcast.
Clock Dodgers podcast.
Connor, welcome to the show. How you been, man?
I've been great, man. Been great. It's been a while since we've chatted on here, man. How you been?
I've been good, man. I was going to say life moves kind of fast because, the last time we talked, which was, I think it was during the season, right? Like in the playoffs or something?
Yeah, it was.
Okay, so it wasn't too long ago. It wasn't like crazy long ago, but since then, a lot of things have changed, man. Like when you first came on here last time, you were just Fantasy Football Matrix. There was no Connor. And now, you got all these different gigs you're doing, and you got this mugshot up on the screen, and I know what you look like and your full name, and a lot of stuff have changed, man. So, I mean, are you enjoying all this?
Yeah, man, it's been a crazy ride. I just started this whole thing as a pseudonym, Fantasy Football Matrix and all that, and then my work started to get noticed by some bigger names over, Roto World and people like that, and they kind of recognized me and started asking me to write some stuff for them. So that kind of just blew up from there. And then at that point, I figured it was just kind of time to get rid of the whole fake name and just kind of move on with it. This is something that I want to, do and pursue a little bit more seriously. And so just put my face up there and, change my name to what it actually is. So.
That's what it actually is. It's funny, right? That's the internet. It's cool because a lot of times I bring, different guests on here, as you know, from all kinds of walks of life, but specifically when it's people who are, trying to establish themselves or make a name for themselves or having some kind of level of success. And, it just kind of shows that the hard work pays off. You know what I mean? Like the grind always pays off.
Absolutely.
So I like those people coming on because, if you have people who are like, super successful for like a really long time, sometimes they kind of lose touch with like the grind of it, like where they came from sort of.
Yeah.
So someone like you is a perfect example. And I have a lot of people on like you where you're in the process still, you're having the success, but you're in the process. So I always like to kind of, dig into that a little bit. So I appreciate you giving me that time.
Yeah. I just spend as much of my free time as I can writing and analyzing and, watching football. So it's pretty crazy.
Yeah. So for those, there's a lot of people listening, I'm sure, because a lot of people who listen are fantasy football fans or players, analysts, experts, whatever you want to call them. And, a lot of people want to have a similar path to what you do. Like a lot of people hit me up and they want to write or they want to do podcasts or, they're just looking for some kind of insight or whatever. And, as far as, you're creating all this content we mentioned for all these different websites now, and of course your own even. What do you feel like for people who are just trying to start, or who have started but they haven't had a real successful moment yet where they feel like they've been noticed in some sense. What do you feel is like the most important thing? Like if you can only tell those people one thing, like what do you feel like they need to to focus on?
I would say just writing or producing as much content as they can and kind of like finding their niche, So like for me, I pretty much just started, and that's what a lot of people suggest too, is just starting to write or produce content, like you said, podcasting too, and just kind of finding their groove, like what works best for them and what people enjoy to hear. And sometimes that takes a while. I mean, I've tried everything from, writing start sits to like projections, rankings, all that. And I kind of just like had to stumble around until I found something that caught on, and that took a few years. So just one of those things like don't give up and just keep producing your content, and if it's good, it'll get noticed.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. It's kind of hard when, I ask someone for one thing because there is so many different, levels to it as far as, what makes it work. And it's funny because I like to go back to people who, who have like, whether they've given good advice or have kind of inspired or motivated. And there's this guy, Gary Vaynerchuk, who I like what he talks about, right? He talks about a lot of that stuff, and he's had obviously extreme levels of success. And I think one thing that always gets people caught up is like, are a lot of people listening to me? Are a lot of people reading what I'm writing? How many people are following me? And he always says something where he's like, 1 is better than 0. 15 is better than 0. Like 30 people are better than 0. Like no matter what it is, it's better than 0, And so it's like, you got to start somewhere, and you got to appreciate every single one of them,
Oh yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with that. And all it takes is one person who's fairly big to recognize you, and from there your following goes from 15 to a few hundred just overnight.
Exactly.
So just keep grinding. That's the way to go.
So with fantasy football, right? It seems like we're all. So many people are giving advice and projections and predictions, and there's people who are well established and there's people who aren't. But everyone's wrong a fair amount of time, right? I mean, it's just life. Nobody's perfect in in anything.
Yeah.
But what for you? What makes certain people stand out to you? Like for you to believe in. Obviously, you're already a smart dude. You're already good at what you do. But what makes people stand out to you? Like to the people that you like. What makes you believe in them?
It's so much just about like their process and their thought process. So like for fantasy football, and I guess just like in general, if I see someone, tell me, oh, I think that the Patriots are going to win today. It's like, all right, that's really cool. Like, so does everyone else. Why do you think the Patriots are going to win? And then they say, well, because they have Tom Brady. It's like, okay, well, that's also cool. Like whatever. But it's like if you start breaking it down and telling me like, oh, I'm putting in this research to seeing Tom Brady do this, or I see them exposing this weakness and all that stuff, and they have a thought process behind it, and just showing that they're really putting in more effort and are able to like comprehend beyond what other people are doing, doing something different, or just really trying to put in the work to make themselves like other people. So, there's been a lot of people that I've seen even who just like are just starting off, where I'm just like, wow, like this is really, really smart. And, like I'm not afraid to recognize them either, because I know I was just there. So it's like, it's just like, it's huge for people just to have like a different thought process, I guess.
Right, for sure. And yeah, we definitely find, different reasons to trust people and why we, we believe in their work. As far as you go, how much time do you spend on fantasy football a week? Like if you just had a guess.
Oh man. So well, right now I'm doing player news, and I'm breaking down a game for Roto World and writing two articles a week for them. And then I'm going to do my best bets once a week for my own site. And then I'm also writing for Sharp Football and for a Dynasty site. So, I mean, easily, like 20, 30 like hours a week in addition to my regular job. So, I mean, I do all my own like job, and then I come in after work, research, write, and I'm up pretty much, until as late as I can stand, where my analysis isn't just mush anymore. So, Yeah, I mean, pretty much as much time as I can, but it's tiring and exhausting stuff, especially if you're already working another job.
Yeah, I feel like that's a common theme, and I always like to ask guys that because so many people are doing other things besides this, and even the ones who are doing just this, it's like it's a lot of work, And some people just think, "Oh, you're writing about football, like how can you be mad about it?" But it's like, man, there's a lot of people putting in a lot of hard work. You know what I mean? Like it's not just talking about football. Like there's so much work going into it. Um, do you listen to podcasts? Do you listen to a lot of podcasts?
Yeah, I try to. I mean, it just really depends on like I have a 7-hour drive coming up in the next week, so I'm going to be listening to. I'll just queue like 5 or 6 of them in a row and download them and then listen to them on the whole way there. That's probably one of my favorite things to do is just listen to a lot of podcasts.
Yeah, so I'm curious, like, do you listen to like only fantasy football podcasts, or do you listen to other stuff too?
It's largely been fantasy football podcasts, but I've also gotten into like Freakonomics and just other podcasts. I like your podcast a lot as well, just because it has like a lot of a variety of content.
Appreciate that. Thank you, man. Yeah, it's like I asked that because I'm always curious. Like so, for instance, when you're listening to fantasy football podcasts, just specifically, are you listening to ones just off of reputation? Is it you're looking for analytical ones? Are you looking just for are you looking for something that just entertain you? Like what are you looking for when you're looking for podcasts?
So I like a mixture. I'm not necessarily super picky, but the person has to either be entertaining or just like wildly smart and being able to present it in a manner that I can at least like I can retain things easily. So one of the guys that I work for, Warren Sharp, he does a really good podcast, and it's very straight to the point, very factual based. He states his opinion, states why, and like gets straight to the point. So it's really easy for me to retain necessary information for me to analyze. But then there's other podcasts like the Roto Underworld podcast, with Matt Kelly, where he's
Yeah.
kind of just a goof. And like, I love his information because he's a really smart dude, and it makes me laugh. It's just a hilarious podcast, but it's a little bit less to the point, but I still enjoy it just as much. So it's kind of a variety for me.
Yeah. I'm asking these questions because I always like to see, what makes guys, what makes you tick, what you kind of like, what you're digging. What's next for you? Like we've mentioned like all these sites that you're, contributing to now and your own site and all this, hours that you're putting into it. Like, are you happy? Oh, obviously you're happy with what you're doing, but I mean, like, there's some people who are like, where they're at is where they want to be at. Like they're not looking for more. And then there's people who are like striving for more. Like I talked to Kevin the other day from the Fantasy Authority. He's like, I want my site to be the best of the sites. That's his goal. It's not like he's just content with being the site that it is. And even though it's great, he keeps wanting it to be more. But some people like where they're at. They don't want too much on them and all that kind of stuff. What is your mindset on this? Like you mentioned, you have the other job. I mean, are you looking to? Would you love to make this everything for you, or like do you still love your? Because I've had people on who are like, I have a full-time job that I love, and I'm like have no interest in leaving it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I totally understand. I mean, I'm really just like playing it and see where it goes. Like, I would love to make this, a career if possible, but this is a tough industry, and like I've been breaking through lately. But I mean, I still have so much work to do to like get to the point where I would feel comfortable, like making it that as a full time, job. So I mean, if it presented itself, I would totally be interested. I love this stuff. There's a reason I'm spending, so much time on it. Like if I was just kind of like okay with where I'm at now, I would be spending half of the amount of time that I do. But even when I'm at like my other job, I'm thinking about football and different things. So, I mean, this is I just want to keep moving up and just doing as much as I can. So
Yeah, that's totally understandable. I even had Kevin, the fantasy engineer, as he calls himself, and it was funny because he loves his day job too, and that's awesome. A lot of people love their day job too, but it was just like he was like, and I would come on here and talk to you even if we weren't recording, like you know what I mean? Like it was just he just loves football that much. It's hilarious. It's awesome. That's what I like about. I always try to bring people on because, okay, we mentioned so many people consume fantasy football and so many people participate in it, but I don't want just anybody on here. I want people who like, they live for this. And it's the same thing for like music or acting or marketing or, whatever someone comes on here for. I don't want just somebody there. I want someone who like lives and dies for it. You know what I mean? Not obviously not really dies, but it's like everything they think about a lot,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. That's what, some of the industry leaders are so much about, and especially in fantasy. I know other things that they're just extremely passionate about what they do. That's kind of what I've noticed is all of them just wanted the way they got in was basically just by trying to get their foot in the door and then just, producing as much content as they can and whatnot.
Absolutely. So, before we move on, because I have other things lined up, like, I want to do some rank 'em with you and some questions from the listeners and whatnot. But I always like to have these little moments, beforehand, before jumping into fantasy football content, because I feel like so many podcasts you listen to or articles you read and whatnot, I feel like you find out, yeah, this guy's really smart. Yeah, this guy knows what he's talking about, but like, who is this guy? So I always like to kind of, see what's making people, what makes them run, kind of who they are. So I just wanted to, discuss that a little bit with you. I know you were on before, so if someone hasn't listened to that episode, obviously I recommend them to go back and at least listen to that, because in the beginning of that episode, we talked a little bit about you as well. So kind of piecing it together each time you come on, man,
Yeah, for sure.
So what we're going to do now is I'm going to jump over to Clock Dodgers Rank 'em, and these we didn't do this last time you were on. So for people who are new, who are listening because they're like, man, Matrix is such a smart dude, I got to listen to this podcast. If they're not familiar, I'm basically just going to give you like a topic or a subject and name 3 things in it, and you're just going to rank them as if it was like a draft or something, first round, second round, third round, like where you would put them. You cool with that? You ready?
Sounds good to me. Yeah,
right.
For sure.
All right, cool. So we get kind of wild on this, man. It's not always sports. So the first thing is going to be sauces, dipping sauces for chicken strips. Anybody who listens to this podcast knows that I'm a chicken strip fanatic. Like that's the go-to. Like it's the safest move for me. Anywhere I go, any restaurant, it's like, just give me the chicken strips. So I'm going to go with the basics though. I'm not going to get crazy and like specific, because there's certain brands and stuff that you can go with, but just straight down the middle. Barbecue sauce, honey mustard, or sweet and sour. And just so you know, Connor, these takes that you make on this will piss people off. So I know you think they're here for the fantasy football, but they will judge you on this sauce picking. So rank barbecue, honey mustard, and sweet and sour.
All right. Barbecue, honey mustard, sweet and sour. 1, 2, 3. Don't change the order. Lock it in.
Lock it in. I like it, man. Straightforward with it. Straightforward.
Man, I'm kind of disappointed you didn't include ranch there, though, man. I'm from the Midwest, man. We adore our ranch. This is just where we live and die with our ranch.
So let me ask you this: if we added ranch into this and made it a 4 group, where does ranch fall for you?
Number 1, no doubt.
Wow. Oh man, I cannot go with you there, Connor. I can't go with you there. Yeah. I'm in Florida. I guess you call it the South, right? Not the South or, mid South or South, but it's the South. It's not like country bumpkin South, but it's South. But man, I don't like ranch, dude. So I don't like ranch. I just don't. So we disagree here in that sense. So we'll see what the listeners think about that. But the next one, fantasy football category. So wide receivers, fantasy football value. So value. Considering ADP, I tried to pull them up really quick as far as like just quick like Fantasy Pros ADP, and the 3 guys I have are Kelvin Benjamin, Jeremy Maclin, and Chris Hogan. And so ADP wise, I think KB was like 26, and just wide receivers, not overall. Maclin was like 37 in wide receivers, and I think Hogan was in the 50s, like early 50s. So value wise, how do you rank these guys? First, second, third
round. Hogan for number 1 value, Maclin is the second best value, and Benjamin is the third best value for me. I mean, Hogan's value his ADP is gonna skyrocket probably pretty soon, and Maclin is gonna be the number 1 receiver on a team that threw the most pass attempts in the NFL last season. And Flacco just announced basically he's probably gonna play week 1, so you're looking at a wide receiver who's bound to get a ton of targets. And then I'm actually really thought I was going to hate Kelvin Benjamin more than I do, but these other 2 are just such good values that, I have to rank him there. And like, I'm just not a huge Kelvin Benjamin guy in general. So he's last in terms of value for me.
Let me ask you this, because I'm getting tons of questions on Hogan since Edelman went down. Like, people are asking, is he really going to be the guy? Is he going to be the guy that gets a lot of these targets? Is it Danny Amendola? All these things. To these people who are asking all these Hogan questions, that just to kind of like knock them all out in one shot here. Like, what is your take on Hogan right now, knowing that Edelman's gone and stuff? Are you making him the number 1 guy as far as who's going to take some of those targets, or are you not as much of a believer in it?
I'm a big believer in Hogan. he blew me out of the water last year, and I really think that he's going to take a large majority of the targets left behind, and obviously the rest will be distributed to Cooks and Gronk and all that. But it's just going to be the Hogan show, man.
Yeah. So when people ask me about Hogan, I'm just going to direct them to this point in the podcast and say, stop asking me about Hogan.
Yeah, that's very much okay. Not an Amendola guy at all, but yeah, exactly. So,
all right. The next category is things I hate. I need you to rank these things, man. Long lines, just generally speaking, long lines anywhere you want. Commercials, whether TV, radio, podcast, whatever. And when someone messes up your food order at like a restaurant, drive-through, anywhere. Rank these things first, second, and third, man.
That's tough. With the one I hate most is number one.
Yeah, first round will be the one you hate the most.
It's got to be the long lines. I'm super impatient, so after a while, I'm just I'm kind of losing it. But then food orders have to be number two, especially if I wait a while for the food, so that impatience also sets in there. I'm just like, I'm not happy with that. But commercials don't really make me that mad, I guess. But they just hearing the same ones over and over again. Like while watching football, if I'm watching one game and the same commercial I've seen on, especially if they're local commercials, come on, I'm ready to mute the television. So yeah, all three do make me pretty mad, I guess.
Yeah, and they all kind of do play along the lines of time, right? Long lines, commercials, they're kind of holding you up from getting to your show or whatever you're watching. Yeah. And then the messed up food is because you waited a long time. But I definitely agree with you. Let me ask you this. When it comes to long lines, like if you were going to go say like eat at a restaurant, right? And they say there's a 30-minute wait. Do you wait or are you like, nah, next?
Unless I literally love the place, which is very rarely, and I'll probably call that for reservations, then not a chance I'm staying. Leaving.
I just had to ask, man, because that happens a lot. And, people are like, "Oh, you wait here for an hour." I'm like, "No, not happening. No way."
Yeah, that's no way.
Yeah. All right, cool. The next category is productive. I'm calling them productive vet running backs. But the point is that you trust in 2017. So these are vet running backs that you trust in 2017. AP, Stewart, Jonathan Stewart, and Gore ranking obviously first, the one, first round, the one that you trust the most and going down.
Yeah, I'm going to go with AP number one. I think I heard a good point the other day was pretty much that kind of why would Adrian Peterson, a Hall of Fame running back most likely, go to a team that's not going to play him, so it's like I have some trust in AP here, and I think he's going to stay healthy, which is funny because on the last podcast I was on with you, I remember saying I didn't trust AP.
Yeah. Again, life moves fast, Connor.
Fair. Yeah, that was fair at the time though. He didn't do anything at the end of the last season, but now I changed my viewpoint there. And then Gore, I don't know if I really trust, but who is the other guy? It was
Stewart,
Gore
Jonathan Stewart.
Yeah, so I'll slide Stewart into the second slot ahead of Gore because I just think Gore is just headed for disaster, man. The offensive line is terrible. Andrew Luck, they have no idea when he's going to play. So you're looking at a 34-year-old running back who is playing, just going to be running absolutely nowhere and going to get beat up. So it just doesn't seem like a good situation for him. And then, Jonathan Stewart's headed for a running back by committee and has actually started all the preseason games over McCaffrey. And that's going to continue probably. And they're probably going to split carries, unlike what a lot of McCaffrey enthusiasts think is going to happen. So yeah, man, I spot him 1, 2, 3 like that.
Interesting, and I find it interesting because obviously Gore, to most people, is Mr. Reliable, right? I mean, he's been up until this point. So you feel like at this point that's going to end.
Yeah, exactly. It's got to change at some point, man. If he somehow stays healthy for another season and just cranks out another top 12 running back season, man, that is an award worthy of itself right there.
As they say, Father Time is undefeated. So we'll see if he's undefeated this season. And of course, the Stewart point you mentioned is good. As far as McCaffrey, I feel like he could be slid in the middle here. The interesting one is AP for me because, again, he to some people is not reliable at this moment, right? Because he hasn't, he's failed a lot of people the last couple of years or whatever. And of course, it's interesting that he's there with Ingram, who I love Ingram, right? And I know a lot of people try to knock Ingram or his situation there, but I love him. So like my love for him makes it hard for me to trust AP in some sense. But I've seen we have like census rankings on the website that clouddodgers.com where this guy Swag Shane, he like gathers he puts up these polls on the Fantasy Life app and people will vote. So like it'll be like AP versus Ingram, and then whoever gets the highest votes, he moves them up in this like algorithm that he has. And like AP ranked higher than Ingram. Do you rank AP higher than Ingram?
Yeah, I love Mark Ingram as a player. I just don't know why the Saints don't. Like they just consistently screw him over with the workload, and I don't know why. So with Kamara now there, and Adrian Peterson pretty much bound to play like a good amount, at least on rushing downs and get carries. I'm just not really sure where Mark Ingram fits in there. It's like, it seems like to me he could almost be traded or something, like a late trade guy or midseason trade guy. But I wish he'd play more. So yeah, I trust AP more now just because I don't trust the coaches.
Interesting. Kind of like the ranch thing here, man. I go the opposite with you. I go Gore, like Stewart AP. It's interesting, man. It's interesting how we're so opposite on it. But again, man, maybe I'm just crazy. It could be the case. Maybe I'm just crazy.
Could be either of us, right? Exactly.
The last rank-em list that I want to do here is the sources, and this could be in fantasy football or any kind of content at all, that you prefer to consume the most. So either article-based content, podcast-based content, and then video type of content. So you can just rank them first, second, third, as far as how much you prefer to consume or what you do consume mostly.
Probably article, then podcast, and then video, because for some reason I just really don't like watching fantasy videos. I don't know why. It's just like it's going to become a huge market. I know it is. It's just not for me right now. Whatever's putting it out just isn't doing it for me. And then podcasts in second. I love podcasts. They're close second to articles, but I just really have a soft spot for longer articles that really go in depth on certain things, because that's kind of what I enjoy writing as well. So it's just one of my things for me that I really enjoy reading.
Yeah, I asked this question because it's funny to me. Like, okay, podcasts obviously are popular because the convenience of them, right? Like, you don't have to do anything; you just play it, and you could be doing anything and consume that. The articles, it's funny because it feels like no matter how ADD we get as a culture, and no matter how quick reactionary, short fused that we are, good articles, no matter how long they are still enjoyed. Do you know what I mean? Which is like counter what we actually do as a culture, because it seems like as a culture we're like, we care about something for 1 second and we move on, 1 second, move on. But good articles never get ignored, really. And the videos, I'm with you as far as it is the future. I do agree with you, it's the future, because I think it's easier for people to connect with someone they see and whatnot. But I think the part that holds it up right now is kind of like the inconvenience factor of it, is that you can't always just sit there and stare at videos. Do you know what I mean? Like when you're working, you can't sit there and stare at videos or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, and what is it? Matthew Berry and Brad Evans both now have TV shows, like fantasy TV shows, which is awesome. It's great for the industry, It's a huge stepping stone for them, but it's like right now it's just kind of like, I don't know, just not my favorite thing to read or to have right now. And another thing is I don't really just consume much content from ESPN or Yahoo, to be honest.
Right.
It's really, I hate to say just mainstream and be all hipster, but it's just kind of just not exactly the analysis that I'm looking for at all times, because they do have to, I guess, look at more of their customer base and can't really go as in depth into stuff and explain it as much as I would enjoy,
Right. And like you said, it's a good point. The consumer base is typically a casual observer.
Yeah.
And so you can't get, it seems like a lot of times, the content that's written or podcasts are written for almost sometimes experts themselves or the analysts themselves, not always just a consumer. So in those, it's almost like they're all consumer, there's they're not really pandering to the person who makes it a lot of their research and whatnot. And of course, those damn commercials and commercials, Connor, commercials. They fucking break up shit with commercials, man. I hate that. I hate it. I can't stand when things are. That's why I'm cool with HBO and stuff, because there's never a commercial that interrupts the show. But when something interrupts the show, man, it just kills the vibe for me. I don't know, man. Maybe I'm being picky here.
That's awesome. Is that your number one then for the rank them there?
Yeah, it might be because I don't mind the lines if it's something I want, but like you said, I'm not gonna wait on lines for nothing. And the food order, it does suck, but I feel like, man, I can't really complain. It's just something too small. But commercials, man, they mess up. I feel like it messes up my focus on it. It like takes me out of the moment, whatever the case may be, and just like I don't know, man. It just annoys me. It annoys me. All right, man. That's it for the rankum. I enjoyed that with you, man. We were split on some things, so it's always good when you disagree a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
The next thing I want to get to is questions from the Clock Dodgers out there, the Clock Dodger family. I always reach out to people on the different social media platforms. This one, I think I went all Fantasy Life users because they were the quickest to respond. They're always good over there, man. They're my family over there. They're always quick to bust out the questions. So I got 5 of them here that I picked that I kind of felt had the most value in them. So the first one we have is from @SBT1030, and he just wants to know our reactions to the latest injuries. I guess, we're referring to, some of the major ones like Meredith, Ware. I guess those are the long-term injuries. But any guy that you feel like we should, talk about or have reactions to, like, what are you feeling about all this stuff? Because it seems like a lot of guys went down this last weekend, or at least guys who make a big impact in the fantasy, world of it.
Yeah, it was a bloody weekend, man. I mean, it was tough. The Ware thing was kind of really sad because I was kind of in on him as a starter and being able to take on a big workload. Kareem Hunt, he's a good rookie, but pass pro is kind of a question mark for me, and I've seen a lot of things just really that could not be in his favor, especially at his rising ADP. Like I've seen people starting to take him up as close to like the second and third rounds now.
Yep.
And at that point, I'm not really buying into him because he is a rookie. He does have to learn pass pro. And, the Chiefs seem like a trade candidate right now to get another one of those veteran running backs or to sign one and who could take over some pass plays and kind of lower his ceiling. Another thing for me with Kareem Hunt and that I've heard other people talk about is potentially the Chiefs. I really don't like them as a team this year to win many games. So I think that basically they've thrived off of turnovers and special teams touchdowns for the last 2 to 3 years in order to win 9 to 10 games a season, And so now for this year, they play against one of the hardest schedules by so many different metrics. And it's going to be really tough for them, man. I mean, if they're still a 10-win team, then Kareem Hunt's going to be a great back, but I'm just not really sure how that shakes out if they're more of a 7 or 8-win team, which I think that they're going to be. So I don't know if he's going to have as much positive game script, and he's going to have Alex Smith, the quarterback. So I'm not really sure how that works out.
Yeah, Kareem Hunt's a funny one for me because when he was coming into the draft, I was seeing film of him because I don't watch a whole lot of college football in itself during the season, but obviously as the draft gets closer, even just because I'm a diehard Raider fan, even just for the Raiders purposes because I wanted to see who they're going to draft, but even just for fantasy as well, he was a guy that I was like, okay, this guy looks like he's going to go a little later in the draft, but he looks like he's got a lot of skill, and I thought, okay, this guy going to get and it's going to be a good value. But as the season got closer, as people started drafting more and more, he seemed to rise a little bit. And then obviously with Ware's thing, he's not even in the draft range for me at this point anymore. But it's just funny because, like you said, I don't know. We have no clue if this guy can shoulder the load. He doesn't, we have no reason to have confidence in that. And then, they only have West behind him, who I believe I was seeing reports that they weren't even sure they were going to keep West before this injury. So it's to think that they're not going to trade or wait for someone to get cut here at these final cuts to bring a board that could be make an impact. I've seen reports about, and you never know how true things are, but Matt Forte might be getting traded or something. And it's come on, if Forte goes there, dude, that's going to change everything. Guys who drafted him Hunt in the third round are going to be miserable. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, Forte or any other.
He's just too volatile right now at that level.
Yeah, exactly. He's a huge risk, and it's just not one that I'm willing to take at his current ADP right now.
Yeah. Does someone like Meredith, did that bother you a lot?
It's just sad because, I watch all the Bears games because I'm from Chicago, and, he's a really good wide receiver in my opinion. And I guess now Kevin White will have a chance, but I'm not really big on the Bears offense in general. So I don't know. I think if I was to pick someone out of the Bears pass catchers, it'd probably be Kendall Wright, and he looked really good and seemed to be their top target after Meredith went down there. But I'm really not kind of on any of them there.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say here that we'll start the slogan "It's right, not white" on this one, because I have no confidence in White either. I mean, just the things that guys have been saying about him, like his coaches and stuff, it just seems weird, man. Like it's hard to believe
what
in
was
him.
that the other day? Like watching his own highlights from college.
Yeah,
make
to
sure
remind
he's
him,
good. Like,
how good he was.
what?
Like, oh man, I don't know. That's
Yeah.
scary.
Yeah, that's horrible.
I mean, I wish him the best, but it's scary.
Yeah, exactly. I hope he breaks out, but I mean, realistically, he was just burning teams that West Virginia played, and like he wasn't really even good at anything besides running fast, and that was now he's 2 injuries deep and is expected to do that against NFL corners. Probably not.
Yeah,
So.
I guarantee if Al Davis was still alive, the Raiders would have drafted him over Cooper. That's how crazy it is, and that's what like obviously I don't know. Sucks the guy's dead, but it's just like that's what we were doing. Like we were drafting guys like him over like we drafted Hayward Bay over the Crabtree.
Cooper.
It's like come on, man. It's like same kind of thing. So we dodged a bullet on that one, man. We dodged a bullet.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, the injury thing sucks. Just in general, like the players aside, like people have been drafting all off season. Like the guys like us who are like into it all. Whether it's best ball, whether it's dynasties, whatever it is. Like a lot of people were banking on some of these guys, and now you're losing them before the season. So that's kind of the risk that comes along with drafting early, right? And so often during the off season.
Yeah, definitely. It's really tough, and like it almost makes some people like. Thankfully, I wasn't really on Edelman. I wasn't really on Meredith, like from a fantasy standpoint. And I was on Ware, but it wasn't like I was super into him. I was kind of diversifying with picking him and Kareem Hunt in some drafts, so that ended up okay. But some people were all in on these guys, and then they just have like a huge injury. So it's like that's just like flushing money down the drain. Almost it feels like that's. Yep. Pretty sad for them.
We're not out the woods yet, guys. We're not out the woods yet. There's still another preseason game. Man.
Fortunately.
Hopefully it's not too bad. The next question is from @DemBones. He asks us a good question here. He says, one player that you'll never draft, even if the value is good.
Ooh.
So like this guy that you just stay away from, man. Like he's just even if the value is good, you're like, still not gonna take him.
I don't know what it is, but I just hate Travis Kelce. So
wow, really?
Not picking him, and I don't know why. I've just never been on him, and like last year just felt so fluky for me, and just a lot of the statistics. Rich Rebar, Roto-World wrote a really good article on him, basically about why last year was just a huge fluke for him, and now he's being drafted in like the 3rd round, like late 2nd sometimes. I'm just like. So against him, even if I was able to get him in like the 4th or 5th, I wouldn't be drafting him there. I would pick Greg Olsen instead. So I don't know.
Interesting. That's interesting. I mean, for me, it's usually guys who I feel like who are have injury histories and stuff that I'm afraid of that I don't want to deal with. So it's typically guys like Jordan Reed or Alshon Jeffrey and stuff like that. Where you have to pay decently for them, but like the risk is so high, and they're great players, and if they're healthy, it's amazing. But it's just like, man, that risk is always there. So Travis Kelce's an interesting one because you're not a fan of the Chiefs at all, huh?
No, I'm really down on
You're
the
like,
Chiefs.
yo, screw all the Chiefs at this point.
Yeah.
That is funny. It's funny because one of the questions I have here from our listeners about the Chiefs, so it's gonna be fun.
Oh man, I can keep ripping on them all day if that's what you want.
Well, we'll get there. Don't worry, Connor. The next question from BD Duff is when you're drafting, and he specifically said live. I guess with people live, not necessarily online or whatnot. But I guess you can answer either way. What pick do you prefer and why?
So if you could, I guess, choose, I would choose number 1 or number 2 because I really like the top 2 guys, and I also love the wraparound, from the 2nd to 3rd round, and like a lot of the guys right in there because after like the first 2 picks in the 3rd round, there's a really steep teardrop, and for me, the middle to late of the 3rd round to like the end of the 5th or beginning of the 6th is all just like one giant tier for me.
Yeah.
So. If I can get the 1st or 2nd pick, which I haven't had very much this year, unfortunately, I'm pretty happy. And otherwise, I just have to adjust my strategy a lot for drafting in the middle or towards the end.
Yeah. See, I go the opposite way. I like the last pick. So like if it's 12 rounds, I like 12. I mean, if it's 12 people, I like 12. 12th pick. If it's 14 teams, I like 14th pick. I don't know, man. I like
Yeah,
number
there's a
one.
lot. There's a lot of guys in there that if you really believe in, like you can get some great value there.
Exactly. I like the value there. I like the fact that the pressure is taken off of me as far as like certain guys that I might be on the fence about, like people are going to take them before me typically. So it's like I get that pressure off of me and I kind of get to dictate a little bit, like what way this thing is going to move going after that, to the second round, like where people are going to start panicking if I take two of a certain position or if I take a certain, certain
you
guy.
can start runs.
Yeah. So I like that, and it goes to each round and you have that opportunity, of course. So I just like the last pick. The first pick is cool too, because like you said, you still get the back-to-back picks. And of course, you get the best guy in the draft, in your opinion. So, so it's always a good spot. I hate the middle though, and I'm sure most people do. But you can make it work. You can make it work.
Yeah, of course. Unfortunately, most of my spots so far in my big drafts have been in the middle, and I've literally actually been drafting zero running back, which is not what a lot of people like to do this year. After all the running backs blew up last year and all the wide receivers, got injured pretty much, but it seemed like that was going against a historical trend. A lot of injury research and point scoring research has been done, and last year seemed to be an anomaly and like going against the trend that it was going in. So, I mean, maybe the trend is reversing, but I'm not buying it and I'm willing to take a risk on it. So, yeah, when I've been stuck in the middle draft, I've pretty much just been going zero running back until like the sixth round, sometimes even seventh round.
When you do that, what running back are you typically like taking first? Like what kind of guys?
So in one of my drafts the other day, which was a 6-point passing touchdown league, I think I went like Odell, and then I had Gronk, and then I had Terrell Pryor, and then I picked Keenan Allen, which I got in the 4th, and then I picked Drew Brees in the 5th and Greg Olsen in the 6th. He fell to 6th.
Wow.
So then, like at that point, my team was just stacked. I mean, you have 2 flexes, so it's like everywhere but running back was like going to be set, So then I just took like four or 5 running backs in the next few rounds, which one of them really late was Forte, but I got like Gillislee, Adrian Peterson, just for the upside there.
Right.
And I picked a pass catching back in Chris Thompson, who I like to lead the Redskins in, be like, I guess, 3rd or 4th in receptions on the Redskins. So, I have a lot of late targets that I developed there. And, Derrick Henry, if I can get him there, a lot of upside. I don't think he's going to be great on his own, but, and then I guess my ultimate sleeper is guy on the Raiders, DeAndre Washington. I've been picking him in like the 14th, 15th round.
It's interesting because like I just had a draft recently where unfortunately I did get auto picked a lot. So I forgot about it. I came in late, and a lot of the picks for me were it's a half-point PPR, and so it just happened to be that a lot of my guys that were auto drafted for me were like wide receivers. So I had like Jordy Nelson, Michael Thomas, and then it was like Demarius Thomas, Jordan Reed, Golden Tate. So like all these players that obviously are really good, but I was getting stuck with no running back. So when I did fall into the draft, I was like, all right, well, I guess I got to take running backs at this point, and I started taking guys like I took Gillislee. And then I took Ware. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like this guy's out for the year, and this is one of the guys I took. So then now I got a bunch of running backs that are like, guys that you mentioned. Some of them are the ones you mentioned, like Chris Thompson, Derrick Henry, and I just took some flyers on guys like Marlon Mack, Cohen, just like rookies and stuff who, if their starters get hurt, like they have a role or something. But when I have guys like Chris Thompson and Gillislee and Henry, it's like. I always had this battle with myself. Like, do I trade some of my wide receivers now for running backs, or do I really roll with these guys? You know what I mean? Like these, because they could really pay off. If it works, they could really pay off. So it's like those kind of guys are the ones that give me hope, and they also put me in a bind where I'm like, dude, do I trade wide receivers now, or do I just roll with these guys?
Yeah, no, that's totally a tough.
But they make it fun. They make it interesting.
Yourself. Yeah, exactly. It's just really up to like your preference and see how the season's going. Like if your running backs are literally just doing nothing, then maybe it's time to make a trade.
Yeah, so it's fun. That's why I say like no matter where you pick, whether it's first, middle, and there's always something interesting in it. And if you do things right, it can be fun. So we'll see how it plays out.
Definitely.
The next question is the Chiefs fan. So the reason I had to put this in here, right, is because he's a Chiefs fan. He knows I'm a Raider fan, and so he thought he was being slick. and throwing this question out there, and you know, because it's kind of legit. So he says, "Why can't the Raiders beat the Chiefs?" Obviously, this guy's got to troll me, right? But at the same time, he does have a point because we haven't beat the Chiefs in a while. So, you know, you obviously have some strong feelings on the Chiefs this year, Connor. What do you feel is going on here, man?
Well, I want to start off by saying I think that they have their number for just a lot of reasons, but one, that Derek Carr just isn't quite there yet. You know, like a lot of people think he's elite, and I don't know. I don't really think he's elite, to be honest. I think he's good and he's getting better, but some people, and I hope it's not yourself, are just like think he's, you know, Tom Brady right now.
Right.
So it's
I'm realistic.
Yeah, and I think he just he struggles sometimes, and I think the Chiefs basically, like, they have to start losing more games. Like, there's no other team in the NFL that can consistently produce as many turnovers and win one-score games and like score special teams touchdowns, you know, at the rate that they do. So I don't know whether it's something they're doing with coaching, but it's been like the last 2 or 3 years that's literally the only way they win games. Because I mean, teams historically, when you win the turnover battle, that's like the biggest like signifying thing that you win a game is if you win the turnover battle. So yeah, I just don't see how the Chiefs can keep that up. And as far as the Raiders go, I mean, they're rising. I expect the Chiefs to fall. So the Raiders are gonna get one. I swear to you this year.
I hope you like that question at Texas Chief.
Yeah.
TX Chief. I hope you're happy you asked that. I had a Chief fan on last week, so he probably was hoping I got another one on. Not this time, buddy. Who's your favorite team, Connor? Do you have a favorite team?
Yeah, I'm a Broncos fan, unfortunately, right now.
Okay, so at least, listen, this is understandable. So I can understand we have a passionate hate for Chiefs, but you probably also hate my Raiders, right? I mean.
Yeah, I mean, I like, beyond being a Broncos fan, I just like really enjoy the NFL. And I'm so realistic with the Broncos this year, man. I'm so pissed at John Elway for sticking it out with Simeon and Paxton Lynch instead of going out to get Tony Romo or something. I am just like livid right now.
Let me ask you this, because it seems like the Bills are selling a lot of players. If they were to sell Tyrod Taylor, would you be on board for that?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure. You know, I'm a big Tyrod fan, but I know everyone's not.
I like borderline despise Trevor Simeon, so it's kind of like
you'd buy anybody
like,
at this point.
Like Alex Smith, except just like worse. So it's awful.
And that's not easy to do. So it's not easy to be worse.
No, it's just he's just so conservative all the time. I tweeted out some statistic the other day that was like he threw short of the sticks on third down on like 80% of his third down attempts or something like that. And it was like worse than Case Keenum and like only better than like Brock Osweiler and a few other guys. And I was just like, man, he's not a fun quarterback to watch, and he's not very good. And I don't really know what they see in him. So,
oh man, the beautiful AFC West, man. It's gonna be fun again.
Yeah, exactly. It's gonna be a wild year this year.
Yeah, it's gonna be the Wild West. All right. The last one we have here is from @Brooksy. Again, he sees your Twitter bio, because what I did is I always post that like I did on Twitter, where I have your little bio on there asking for people to ask questions.
Yeah.
And so he said, how does it feel being abstract? Because your thing says that you like to look at football from an abstract point of view. But but it does bring up an interesting point. Like you do mention, abstract and analytical way of looking at football. My question to you is like, are you only that, or do you like film and go with your gut type of thing also when it does come to fantasy football?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of like everything, I guess. I try, and by abstract, I don't necessarily mean just like not doing what everyone else is doing. It's more of in the sense that like not like a lot of people just think that you should stick to one or the other. Like I'm really a huge believer in just doing all of it. Like your instincts can play a huge part in making good decisions. Now, I don't necessarily rely on them all the time, but there's some people have written some really good articles on how just your common sense and your knowledge can actually be a better tell like what's going on and what's going to happen than like a lot of other things that can lead you astray. So, in that sense, I kind of do believe in, watching film and everything, which it can create bias in some sense. Like, obviously, I don't like Travis Kelce, and it's not really justifiable, but I just am not a fan.
Right.
Yeah, so like obviously that's a bias, but and then with the rest of it, like I do believe in numbers, but I don't think that they're an end all be all in any way, shape, or form. I think they're really important, and they can help a lot with not only fantasy, but with NFL teams once they start to become more of a believer in them. But yeah, so I think everything plays a little role in the key to football itself and fantasy.
Yeah, I always think it's fun. I'm like you. I'm. I believe you take from both worlds, and that's kind of the best way to do it. But I think it's funny because a lot of the one thing that seems to trigger a lot of people, and it could be in any industry really, but in fantasy industry, or anything with like numbers and analytics, when someone asks you something, and you say, "I don't know, I just feel it." Like I just feel it in my gut. Like I don't know. I just feel strongly about it. Like it really annoys some people because they're like, "Oh, really? That's what we're going off of here?" Like, you know what I mean? Like they get annoyed. Like it's so simple and like unbelievable to them. Like what? Like that's what we're gonna. That's why I'm supposed to believe you because you feel like it. You know what I mean? Like it's funny sometimes, almost like in a trolling sense when you say that because like people who are like super serious like get very angry about it. It's one of those things. Well, all right. So that's it for the listener questions. The last thing I want to do before I let you go here, man, is foul or no foul. You played the game before. You know how it works. But in case anybody is new listening, I'm going to throw statements at Connor, and some of these are from listeners that I've sent them over, and some are some that I've just come up with. If Connor agrees with what's being said in the statement, then he sees no foul in the statement. There's nothing wrong with it. If he doesn't agree with it, then he does see a foul. He's throwing a flag. It's foul on the play, foul on the statement. You ready for this, Connor?
Yep.
All right, cool. Let's do this then.
It's that time again. Let's play another round of foul or no foul.
So the first one I have here is from @JJK, and he says Cooks is going to be crazy overdrafted now that Edelman is out for the season. Foul or no foul?
No foul at all. I don't think, Cooks is going to be way overdrafted. I don't believe in Brandon Cooks whatsoever, to be honest. I was off of him at his old ADP. I'm off him at his new ADP, whatever that ends up being. Not really taking him anytime before like the late third or early fourth round now even, and that's never going to happen. So,
oh, there you have it, JJK. He says no foul. No foul in Cooks. Not a Cooks fan, huh?
No, Brady's also like Breeze, loves to spread the ball around. And I also think Cooks is just kind of overrated as a player in general. Not a fantastic route runner. Matt Harmon did some really good work on that. And, he just isn't he's a really overrated route runner and just frankly relies on his speed a lot. So
man, ranch dressing.
I'm not really sure.
Ranch dressing, Cooks hate, Kelsey hate. Oh man, they're gonna come for you. The next one is at SBT 1030, and he says Hunt is the best rookie running back in 2017. Foul or no foul?
Yeah, that's a foul. It's going to be Dalvin Cook. You can lock that in right now.
Lock it in? Okay.
Yeah, lock that in. That's locked in as well.
We're going to lock it in. I like that you said that, though, because, the common thing is Mixon or McCaffrey. But Cook just seems to get pushed to the side sometimes. I think it's because of where he landed. I don't know. But, yeah.
Yeah, he just had, a really terrible offseason as far as, dynasty rankings. And, his combine was one of the, so bad. His agility is terrible for some reason. And his 40, it wasn't terrible, but when you account for how tall and how big he is, it wasn't very good. It was below, I think his agility was below the 10th percentile, something like that. So you're looking at a player who pretty much went from the locked in right there, 1.01 in many dynasty owners' minds to he's the 1.05, 1.06. And now he's drafted on a team with, where they signed Latavius Murray, and many people were just like, oh, forget it, totally off Dalvin Cook. But there's so much going in his favor this year with the Vikings offensive line, the most injured in the NFL last season. So they're bound to regress from that. Bradford's not going to be changing coordinators or coming in a week before season. Diggs and Thielen is really good. I'm really big on the Vikings this year as a whole. So, I really think Dalvin Cook is going to be used really often. He's already caught multiple passes in the preseason, and I believe is actually caught the most passes in the preseason out of any starting running back. So with above 30 snaps, something like that. Yeah. I saw that stat on Twitter the other day.
So let's be straightforward with it. This is one of those cases where you're pulling away from the analytics or the numbers, and you're more going off of what you've seen or ability or opportunity and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, definitely. And this is where I'm going off the analytics, because every film grinder swore by Dalvin Cook 1.01. You know what I mean? It was before the season. It was without a doubt, this guy's the man, pretty much. And then he just tested so poorly, and everyone was off of him. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe he is gonna suck. But now, from what I've seen, he just has something about him. It's something like LaShawn McCoy only has good agility, but the rest of his analytics are just pretty much bad. They're pretty bad. So, but he's just keeps producing. So he's one of those guys that I think can do that at this level. And we'll see. We'll obviously see. Nothing's set in stone right now, but I mainly love the workload. And if he can be good on, even better on top of that, I think he could be offensive rookie of the year.
Listen, man, we all have bad days, right, Connor? We all have bad days, man. We all have bad days. Some people just don't test well, man. I know you gotta remember when you were in high school and middle school, elementary school, you take those tests. And some people are smart dudes, man. They just don't like the pressure of the test, man. They don't like that test. It doesn't work for that, man. It just doesn't work out. I'm with you, man. I'm with you. The next question is from @RRuxin, and he says the Rams' big three, Goff, Watkins, and Gurley, will all finish top 15 at their respective positions. Foul or no foul?
No foul, man. I don't know why, but this is another team that I'm a fan of here is the Rams. They added Whitworth onto their offensive line, one of the best offensive linemen in the NFL last year from the Bengals. They added another guy to their offensive line, and you're looking at Sammy Watkins, who's probably going to break out, and I was actually projecting for a breakout year this year on the Bills because he's just been hobbled by injury. And then you have Todd Gurley, who was pretty bad last season, but seems to have a little bit more of a chip on his shoulder now. And, I mean, Goff is pretty bad, but in the offense that they're playing in, he's going to be throwing a lot, and now he's got weapons, and I think the defenses have to respect him a little more. So I don't think it's a foul. I think that's very possible. The only one that's a stretch for me is really Watkins. I'm just not sure if Goff can get him the ball enough. I just think that he could finish top 15. It's still a huge stretch, but I kind of like the bold take there.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen Britt have a great year there last year with Goff, and my question to you is this though, with Watkins specifically, if he is to break out or not to break out, is Goff the biggest factor, or do you feel like the health is going to be the biggest factor? Like, which one, if you had to be concerned about one more than the other, which one would it be?
I'm more concerned about Goff, to be honest, because his health, I mean, it was kind of just fluky injuries, it seemed like, and he had a similar injury to Julio, I believe. So it was like his ankle, and Julio's obviously been fine. I've seen some stuff where they're through the first 3 years of their career, Julio and Sammy Watkins' stats are about the same.
Right.
So it's not like Sammy Watkins can't still break out. You know what I mean?
For sure. All right, cool. That's a bold take right there. The next one is asking people in your fantasy league that are in your actual league with you for advice on a trade that's in the same league is not a good idea. Foul or no foul?
I'm trying to figure out the negatives here. So I think no foul. I don't like that idea at all. I think you should make your trade and take your own, think for yourself, man. Just I guess you can ask other people. It's just kind of like, why are you running a team if you're not going to, especially in your own league, if you're not going to make your own decisions? You know what I mean? So
yeah, I agree with you on that. I agree with you on that. And also, I mean, I understand wanting to get other people's perspectives, but also if it's in the same league, you got to wonder, what are they in for themselves? You know what I mean? Like, what do they have to gain?
Someone who does it for a living, you know what I mean?
Yeah, what do they have to gain for it? So that's always, if I'm going to ask somebody, I'm going to ask somebody that's not in the league with me, just to kind of get their outside opinion. The last one I want to throw at you here before I let you go is, thanks to the internet, which consumes our lives at this point, the nonstop info that we get, that's filtered to us constantly. Fantasy football sleepers only exist now in the world of casual fans. Foul or no foul?
No foul. It's so true.
So true, right?
There's an article about every single player.
Yeah, pretty much.
Every single player on every single team has been deemed a sleeper by one guy or the next. It's just a matter of how well thought out their opinion was and how much, traction it's gotten with everyone else. But casual fans are the only ones who really can have true sleepers, in my opinion.
Yeah. Do you miss that part of football, man? Like when, like I remember, I don't know if you played it back then or not, but I remember when you drafted, it was like everything was on paper, and I'm not that old, so it's like a lot of it was on paper, but then you may physically put it into the internet after the fact, but like there wasn't so much analysis on it. Like like I've known people who kind of like stopped playing or took a break from it because they felt like when you had to do your own research, like a lot of your own research, they felt like they shined then, but then when so much information is now given to you, the playing field is kind of evened out more. Do you understand those people where they're coming from with that?
Yeah, no, I totally understand. It's really tough because for casual fans who are playing in leagues with like people who are doing a lot of their own research, they have to keep up, and that's just not for everyone sometimes. But they also have the ability to get a lot of information. So like there's a really weird divide where a casual fan can become a smart fan just by reading a little bit more.
Right.
But that's also like research. But I don't know. It's kind of tough.
Yeah, it's weird. It's a weird space, man. But it's cool. It's cool, man. It's challenging. Like the challenge. All right, Connor.
Yeah, absolutely.
We've made it, man. We've made it to the end. We've knocked out another episode. This is your second appearance on here, man. I look forward to much more, of course. I appreciate you coming on, man. As far as when it's the end of the convo, man, it means two things. One, we need to tell these beautiful people listening where they could find you and where they can find your work. So let them know now.
Yeah, so I would say for sure follow me on Twitter at Connor Allen NFL, and then my work will be posted on rotoworld.com, sharpfootballstats.com, and my own website, fantasyfootballmatrix.com as well. So yeah, any of those sites, just look for me, and I would say follow my Twitter is the best way to stay updated with everything because it's a lot of different places. So
is it still weird for you to give out that Twitter handle, man?
Yeah, very weird. I almost felt uncomfortable saying it there, but it was.
I felt it in your voice, man. I go off of energy, man. I felt it. You were like, ooh. You weren't as confident as Fantasy Football Matrix, but no. Follow him, man. Follow the guy. He's got some good stuff. Good dude. Interacts with people. That's who he is. The other thing that this means, since we're at the end, is that I'm going to ask you to close this thing out, man. I'm going to ask you to close it out with a message or some piece of advice of something. It doesn't have to be fantasy. It can be anything you want. But lead these the Cloud Dodger listeners. Let them walk away with something here. If it's only one thing they walk away with, what do you want to send them off with, man?
Kind of what we were talking about at the beginning. If you want to do this for a living, just keep grinding and keep working your way up, and it'll be noticed. Hard
work doesn't go unnoticed. Is that right, Connor? Absolutely, man. I appreciate it again, man. I appreciate you for coming on. We have to do this again. Let's do this a little sooner than like how we did it this time, man.
For sure. Thank you for having me on. Yeah, I had a great time, man.
Of course.
Definitely got to come on sooner.
Of course. All right, man. Well, you have a good night. I appreciate you coming on, and we'll talk to you soon, man.
Sounds good.
Guys, that was a great conversation with Connor. Again, I appreciate his time and his energy and his information. He's a smart dude, a good dude. You guys know the drill. CDF. You guys know how we roll here. If you can go ahead and holler at Connor on Twitter, follow him if you don't already follow him, and show him some love. You know what I mean? Hit him up. Ask him about fantasy questions. That guy's got a lot of information for you. So if you want to hit him up after you hit me up and get your winning advice, that's fine. I understand. Again, he's at Connor, ConnorAllennFL. So when you hit me up and you're asking me for advice, hit up Connor too. Connor's got the goods as well. And again, follow him, check him out in all the places he's putting in work. He's a busy guy doing a lot of good stuff. So again, shout out to Connor. Thank you again for coming on the podcast, man. Again, you're always welcome. So thank you, Connor. I hope everybody enjoyed that conversation like I did. Again, just a reminder, Houston and other places over there that have been affected by the hurricane can use your help. If you can donate, please do. If you can just send your thoughts out there, please do. Your time, your energy, whatever you can do to help. They need it, and a lot of other people need it. It's not just them. So any time it doesn't take a national disaster for us to react. So let's constantly keep that positive energy flowing and looking for ways, like I always say, that just to make somebody smile, just to make somebody's day. It doesn't take a lot from you. So if you can do that, we really appreciate it. Again, if you're in the Caribbean, if you're in Florida, and this Hurricane Irma is coming your way, we don't know yet as of this recording, the trajectory. So I don't know whether this is going to change, but in case it doesn't, when you're hearing this, I'm in West Palm too. So it's focusing right now on us as well. So hopefully this doesn't happen, but if it does, stay prepared. You know what I mean? I was just out there today. I was just trying to find water for the house, like just to drink. I'm not even talking about like hurricane preparation, and the stores were already wiped out. And I'm recording this on Monday, the 4th, and it's already wiped out. And I'm thinking I'm just going out there like it's a normal day. I didn't think everyone was already, in hurricane mode. So, when these kind of things come, it sucks that I stepped out and couldn't find water. For the most part, I found a little bit, but not anything I really was looking for. But it's good to see everybody kind of jump in the gun, even if it doesn't happen, right? Because at least people are preparing for it. It's one of those catch-22 things, because we're all ahead of it a little bit now because it's happened so much. So unfortunately, through tragedy, we learn. But that's the point, because if we didn't learn, it'd be a bad thing. It'd be a bad sign. So people are learning, and so again, our thoughts go out to you. Guys, don't forget, this podcast is sponsored by No Halftime, daily fantasy sports app that allows you to do player versus player challenges. When I tell you that Clock Dodgers, we only use and have sponsors of people we really, really mess with, and that we really, really agree with, and we really think the product is worthy of sharing with our CDF. So these guys are great, like customer service wise, and just everything. The product they're pushing, everything is A1, right? It's all top notch stuff. So use the promo code CLOCK, CLOCK, when you sign up. You'll get a bonus. Again, they're giving away NFL tickets this season during the year. Only if you're active though, in each week. So if you're not active, you can't win. You have no shot. But if you are active, then boom, you're automatically in. That's how we roll. You know what I mean? So we're giving you plenty of different options here. So again, if you're new to the podcast, if you've never listened before, and you're just finally tuning in and getting this great fantasy advice, this motivation from people who are doing things, this entertainment, just if you're just here to laugh, whatever the case may be, get the app, use the promo code. If you don't want to do it, find someone who does, a friend, a family member. Trust me, everyone wants free stuff or bonuses and prizes, and why would you not share it? This is kind of what I'm saying. Share this information. Make somebody's day. Be like, dude, you like DFS? You like daily fantasy sports? You like fantasy football? I got this crazy cool app for you to use. And not only that, I got this promo code from this guy, Neal, who has this Clock Dodgers podcast, which, by the way, you should subscribe to. And then after they subscribe, you give them the promo code and everything is good. I'm just saying, guys. I'm just saying. I'm not saying, I'm just saying. ClockDodgers.com. That's where you get exclusive content, articles. We got guys writing college football articles, census rankings, articles that have nothing to do with sports at all. We got stuff on there for podcasts. All the latest podcasts are updated on there. We got guys doing all kinds of stuff. Fantasy football obviously is heavy right now, but if you're interested in other things, please hit me up, because I'm always looking for new writers in different categories: pop culture, entertainment, fitness, literally anything you could think of. Don't think any idea you have, something that you're interested in, and you say you want to write about it, but you don't know where to go. You don't know what to do. You've never done it before. Hit me up. We can make this happen. Trust me, nothing is off. Well, some things are going to be off limits, but not everything. So it's not just a sports thing. It's not just a, whatever. Subscribe to the podcast. Whatever podcast and app you're using, you should be able to search for Clock Dodgers and find us. And that's the easiest way to do it. That way you get all the freshest, newest episodes as soon as they drop, especially if you're listening for fantasy football content. You don't want to miss the advice, the insight, and all that kind of stuff that we're dropping on a weekly basis. You know what I mean? You don't want to miss that kind of stuff. We got all the kind of the advice, the content that you need. Not only is it cool guys like Connor, explaining their path, and we're, I know we're being entertaining and whatnot, but we also have lots of good advice. And it's different than the other guys you're listening to. It's not you're not gonna get the advice from Clock Dodgers and say, "Oh, I just heard that on such and such." It's just not gonna happen. Like, we just do things differently here. So subscribe. Tell your friends to subscribe. Your family to subscribe. We need more subscribers. I promise you, we got so much room for growth, and you guys are everything in that. Your word of mouth cannot be beat. That's just simple as that. And everyone listening right now is in leagues with 10 people, 12 people, and all those people aren't listening. And I know you don't want to give them the heads up and let them get the advice that you're getting, but don't be greedy. Those people need to listen too. Tell them to subscribe. Super important. Super important that we continue to grow the CDF. Sounds like some government organization. CDF is here. Open up your door. We need to talk. Clock Dodger fam, I love you guys. You know I love you guys. We got a lot of exciting episodes coming off of the fantasy football tip and on the fantasy football tip. Both ways. We got tons of great guests lined up. A lot of exciting stuff coming. Fantasy football content will obviously ramp up, but we're going to ramp up the other stuff as well. The Game of Thrones episodes are going to taper off a little bit because the season obviously ended. But other than that, guys, we got a lot of big things planned on the website. Don't forget, Clock Dodger shirts, wristbands, mugs, all those things are out there for you guys to purchase, and those things only go back into Clock Dodgers to help make this thing better. So all you're doing is helping build this up when you order those things. So we really appreciate that, and a lot of exciting things coming. If you guys have any advice, feedback, anything you want to share with us, you can shoot me an email, clockdodgers@gmail.com, or just follow me on Twitter, Instagram, those things at Clock Dodgers, and you can shoot me a tweet, a DM, an Instagram message, whatever they call it there. Just hit me up. All right, guys. I love you guys as always. Everything is beautiful. Let's hope. So put your good thoughts in the air that this hurricane just don't even let it hit the Caribbean. Just push that thing all the way back out into the ocean, because we don't need any more of this stuff happening. It's just not worth it. You know what I mean? It's just craziness, and we don't need to see that stuff happening no more, because the last one that just happened was bad enough. You know what I mean? Like, we just don't need any more of it. We want to be able to help build them back up and move on. So as always, guys, be kind, be great, keep dodging.
Visit clockdodgers.com for more unique content. Connect with us now by following at Clock Dodgers on Twitter, Instagram, and Periscope.